In this video, I'm going to show you how to pull or throw on the pottery wheel and hopefully explain the details in a way that's easy to understand. So, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is wedge and center your clay. Now I'm not going to go into the full prepping process because I already have videos on that, and if you're interested, those will be linked below. Okay, so after your clay is prepped and centered, we're going to make a well. Now, the well is just a hole or valley in the middle of the clay. To make this, feel for the middle of the clay as it's spinning. It should feel like the center of a spinning top. Take your fingers and, supporting one hand with another, press down on the middle of the clay like you see me doing here. The more that you can be stable, the better. Remember that throwing is about being as stable as possible, but the clay will only do what you do. So the more that you can stabilize your elbows on your thighs or one hand against another hand, the better, and more the clay will respond to your movement. After you've made your well, take your needle tool and poke it directly into the bottom of your pot. Put your pointer finger down right beside it and pull them out together like you see me doing here. This will show you how much clay you have at the bottom, ensuring that you won't cut through it later. You want to have about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch on your pot. After making your well and measuring the base, we need to open up the well to make it about the width of your hand. To do this, take one hand and press your fingers all the way to the bottom like you see me doing here. Support with your other hand and curl your fingers back like you see in the video. It's really important that you make sure that you stabilize your movements. The clay needs to remain centered in each one of these stages before we get to the actual pulling. After I've opened the well, I'll compress the base with my thumb like you see me doing here, and I'll get ready to set up for the pull. Now we're finally ready to pull. The first thing I do is what I call a pre-pull, and this is where I take my 2 pointer fingers and I pinch them together on the side of the clay. This is not really a pull. All I'm doing is straightening the wall out, making it a little bit easier to pull later. It's really important during this phase, during the pulling phase, that you make sure that you get lots of water on your hands so that the clay can move smoothly through your hands. To pull, it's actually really simple. Take the 2 middle fingers on your left hand and place them on the inside of the pot. Do the opposite thing with your right hand on the outside like you see me doing in the video here. Remember that your inside hand should be slightly above your outside hand, just like you see me doing here. The inside hand is going to press a bump out. Make sure that you're not pinching these 2 fingers together. That's a very common misconception, is that you're pinching the 2 walls together. The inside hand is pushing the clay out, while the outside hand is pushing it up from underneath. It should look something like this. The hand on the inside forces the clay out, while the hand on the outside forces the clay up. So this is what it looks like from the inside. The hand on the inside of the pot is going to push a bump of clay out, and the hand on the outside is going to lift or carry that bump all the way to the top, and they have to work together. The one on the outside has to be underneath the one on the inside in order to actually carry it all the way up to the top. You can't have one without the other. If you just have the hand on the inside, you push the clay out, and if you just have the hand on the outside, then you just press the clay in. They have to be staggered, and one carrying that bump all the way up to the top. So here it is again. Make a notch at the bottom with your outside hand, like you see me doing here. Then with your inside hand, push a bump of clay out and carry or lift that bump up together. Remember that the clay has to set on top of your outside hand. The concept is pretty much the same no matter what you're doing, whether you're using your fingertips to pull up the wall, or you're using your knuckle to pull up the wall, or even if you're using the palm of your hand to pull up the wall. You're always carrying or lifting that bump of clay all the way to the top. One tip to remember is to make sure that your elbows are braced on something as much as possible, at least when you're first starting out. The more that you can brace yourself, the easier this process will be. Obviously, you're going to have to lift your elbows at some point, but if you're just starting out, keep your elbows down and you won't have to worry about or think about stabilizing your back. The last tip I have is when pulling the clay, think less about pinching your fingers together and more about setting a distance between them and carrying the clay all the way up. If you continue to pinch your fingers together, you'll cause the clay to break more often or rip or tear more often because the pressure remains constant. If you made it this far in the video, thanks so much for watching. This video is brought to you by all the good people who like and subscribe. So if you find value out of this video or you liked it, you should definitely subscribe. And check out the other videos on the channel for more art and design stuff. Keep at it, never stop growing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.